afternoon from the surprisingly sunny Copenhagen. Welcome to the webinar Comprehensive Solutions to Energy Poverty, hosted by the Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency. My name is Aristides, also known as Aris. I'm working as a program officer at the Copenhagen Center, and I will be the moderator for today's webinar. A couple of things before we move to the main content of our webinar. This webinar is going to be about 70 to 80 minutes long, including time for Q&A at the end. In case you cannot stay until the end or want to get back to our presentations, all the materials and the recording of the whole webinar will be available online in a few days on the Copenhagen Center's knowledge management system. And we have many other webinar information there. Have a look. I'll give more information in a few minutes. Now, before we start discussing about today's topic, I would like to inform our attendees that we comply with the General Data Protection Act, also known as GDPR. This means that your personal data, such as name, email, workplace, etc., is safely processed and stored, and all of your rights pursuant to the GDPR are respected. You have full access to the data being processed about you, and at any time, you can request that inaccurate data be deleted or rectified. For access or further information, please contact with the people that are presented here. Now, a few things about the Copenhagen Center. The Center conducts research and advisory activities in the field of energy efficiency and serves as energy efficiency hub for the Sustainable Energy for All initiative. The Center has an established network of global, regional, and national partners with a broad range of stakeholders to help accelerate the implementation of energy efficiency activities. And we are one of the partners of the Smarter Consortium. Now, I was planning to make a presentation about the Smarter Finance for Family project, but I think it is better to show you a video in which our project had been selected as a finalist in the European Sustainable Energy Week in 2019, and the project director, Stephen Porkamp, is talking about it.
By putting the needs of citizens first, we create greener homes financed by green mortgages. Home buyers receive discounted financing when they commit to buying a green home, homes that deliver better quality, health, and environmental responsibility. Residential developers that commit to building green homes benefit from our verification that they have met our ambitious energy and other green criteria. And lastly, banks reduce their financial risk by lending through innovative green mortgages as buyers' operating costs are lower and their homes are more valuable.
In 2018, we joined the Green Mortgage Program with the Romanian Green Building Council because we encourage green homes construction or refurbishment through better lending conditions in terms of interest rates and commissions.
To date, we have over 25 residential projects representing over 6,500 housing units. These homes' green performance already meets or exceeds Europe's 2020 targets for green buildings. We were fortunate to be awarded Horizon 2020 funding to implement this program in 11 additional European countries. We help families pay less for beautiful green homes that will improve our planet's health and support a low-carbon economy. This is how we are shaping Europe's energy future.
That was the presentation. If you would like to know more, please, you can visit the Smarter project website that you can see on the bottom of my presentation. Now, on regular basis, the Copenhagen Center is conducting webinars. All materials, including recordings and presentations from previous webinar, can be found on Copenhagen Center Knowledge Management System under the e-learning section. The material of today's webinar will be uploaded shortly, but until then, you can check one of the recommended webinars or podcasts that are related to today's topic and to the project itself. Now, I would like to briefly introduce the speaker of today's webinar. First, we'll start with Eva. Eva is working as a research consultant and represents the Czech humanitarian organization People in Need in the consortium implementing Smarter Finance for Families. Then, Kamil is working as project manager at NFECT, and he graduated from the Technical University of Sofia with a subject field in thermal engineering. Then we'll have Milenka. Milenka is working as project officer and also represents Czech humanitarian organization People in Need in the consortium implementing Smarter Finance for Fun. Mizet is a business consultant and innovator. Through his work, Mizet has gained knowledge of economic and financial analysis, business models, evaluation and analysis, and wide knowledge of private and public sector development practices. And at the end, it's Chanela. Chanela is the chairwoman of the Green Council in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Finally, I would like to inform that you can send us your questions during the presentations using the dedicated icon, and we will do our best to answer as many as we can at the end. Please do not forget to mention the name of the panelist that the question is for. I would like to give the floor to Eva. Eva is going to be our first presenter. Now, Eva will present her experience of making green solutions more accessible to low-income groups, making municipalities at the core, and coordinating energy and social policies. So, Eva, the floor is yours.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to be here with you. I will continue talking about smarter finance for families, but in my presentation, I would like to tell you a little bit more about the ways how energy poverty solutions are embedded in our overall activities. So which factors of our projects are focused on energy poverty, and also why we are doing that. Yeah, so as you saw on the video, you could say that most common type of the developer we are dealing with will be whether a large-scale development company focusing, let's say, on multi-apartment flats, and also the most usual beneficiary or the customer who is going to use the green solutions such as green loans will be rather for someone coming from the mid-range income. Nevertheless, since we really do believe in a health benefits of green certification, and we would like to really bring these to as many people as possible, we think that it's really important to try to offer and find ways how to get these solutions and technologies to as many people as possible, including the low-income families. What's more important is that it's not just about influencing lives of these families. The change of in the quality of their housing will inevitably also make an impact on the wider society, because as you most likely know, buildings are responsible for over 40% of energy consumption. Also the CO2 production, so solving inefficiency in buildings can really help solve issues such as air pollution and climate change issues. Also important is to say that most often the most vulnerable households are at the same time the biggest polluters. So it's really we see this as a low-hanging fruit. If we help this part of society to solve issues with housing, we are really helping also ourselves and our health. And another thing is also the timing. There are currently some money in the pipeline in the private and in the public sector. So we also see even the current COVID crisis as an opportunity with the new recovery package, which will be focusing more on the local level on solutions in each member country, or the Green Deal and the renovation wave. So all these are bringing opportunities for changes in this sector of housing. Another thing important to mention is that the money are not the only problem. So we really try to engage in communication with the governments and explain that mere splashing the cash on the issue, and for instance in the form of subsidies which are given to cover the energy costs. So only this part is not really solving the bigger issue, because this person which is getting the subsidy may still live in a house which has damp, mold, draft. So there are still consequences to his physical health, but also a mental health. So this syndrome of unhealthy buildings can cause quite often issues with low performance, the problems with focusing on your studies, focusing on your work. So even though your bills are paid, there's still an issue of a well-being and mental and physical health issue which is not being solved. And it's kind of striking, because in Europe we are often really really trying to get quality access to education or healthcare to as big group of our citizens as possible, because we see this as a way how people can take care of themselves, can provide for themselves and for the family. So it's a sustainable investment into one's well-being. Nevertheless, healthy housing is not really always seen this way. And this is what we really want to change, this perception of green housing as a luxurious product. That's why we in the activities focused on energy poverty, we try to engage with governments and start a conversation on removing some of the money which are currently going into the subsidies focused on coverage of the bills, of the energy bills. So moving some of this money into renovations and into better housing, because at the end of the day, it's really a reasonable solution also from the financial banking point of view. And it's also an opportunity for the private market, since the monthly ownership of the house with subsidized energy bills or the house with a very low energy consumption could be almost the same. And now a little bit more concretely how we do it. So on the right side of the picture, you can see how usually Smart Finance works. So we help developers to bring them closer to green certifiers, certify their project. Then we are taking this certified project to the bank, and finally the bank is offering a green loan or another product to a potential buyer of, let's say, of a flat in this development project. When it comes to smarter finance activities focused on vulnerable families, there is much more focus on the developer and much closer cooperation, usually in the form of MOU. So the cooperation is in a form of consultancies, trainings, like sharing our network, our professional experience. And the developer is not merely someone coming from the private sector. It could be either a government building, let's say, a project on refugee or IDP housing. It could be a municipality which has their own municipal flats and want to offer some social housing. It could be also someone from the private sector or NGO sector. So what we are trying to do here is to combine money from two different pockets, the public and the private money. And we trying to think of a combination which will allow as many people as possible to reach to green solutions. So it's really about finding the individual combinations. Carmen will probably talk a little bit more about the details, but what we want to do is to bring these opportunities offered by the public sector, the schemes focusing on renovations, but also involve banks, let's say in the form of 0% loans, which would be subsidized by the public sector, or we are trying to engage the future beneficiaries of such housing, for instance, by giving them the opportunity to partially participate in the renovation as much as it is possible. So really the percentages of how much which party can contribute and in which way, whether it's a partially subsidy, partially green loan or state loan. So there is a high amount of solutions, and our goal is to find the right mix for the right project, a pilot project. And finally, just to give you some idea, now I was talking quite in generally, and to give you an idea of concrete activities we are doing when I'm talking about the support of developers. It could be either a municipal platform. We started in Bosnia and Herzegovina where mayors can exchange their good experience. It could be training courses we are currently offering online. We are very much focusing especially on municipalities, as we see that they are quite often a very flexible public player, like representative of a public sector, who can do these decisions and the changes in a financing schemes maybe a bit more quickly than it is on the government level. And quite often also municipalities know their beneficiaries much better. There is this close proximity to the final beneficiary, so they're always also more willing to try new things. So that's why we are really focusing a lot on this. And just the last thing before I finish, I would like to highlight that it's all you, if you are interested in this project, can now endorse our activities through the new campaign. We're shortly gonna share a link on which will lead you to endorsement sheet, where you can sign up for support, download a picture for your Facebook, and you can follow our activities. So thank you very much, and I'm very happy to hear your questions or comments.
Thank you very much, Eva, for your interesting presentation. Now, I'll give the floor to Kamen. Kamen will explain why governments must support hybrid energy poverty projects and the balance between public and private funding to assist low-income families, focusing on a Bulgarian case study. So, Kamen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Aris. I will present the results from research we have made within Smart and Finance for Families project last year. And I will try to show how important it is to invest in better buildings to fight the energy poverty. Energy poverty is a problem which affects many people, unfortunately. And one of the important reasons for that is the very bad condition of the buildings. That's why I decided to illustrate my first slide with these pictures. On the first pictures, you can see examples of multi-family buildings in Bulgaria, and the bad condition of these buildings. But unfortunately, not only poorest people live in the building, but many other people. The third picture I put on the slide just to try to show some kind of contrast in the living conditions. There you can see a Bulgarian architect, a passive house designer, who is standing happy on the construction site of a new passive house, which will be, when constructed, very high efficient building with a very good microclimate. But at the background, you can see the Roma ghetto, where people live in the worst conditions. But in the beginning, let's try to find the answer to the question, what is energy poverty? Nevertheless, it is a well-recognized problem for the European Commission. The EU doesn't have a common definition, and something more there are very few countries in Europe who have their national definitions. We have found only 5 definitions in our research. Although there are differences in the text, of course, always the problem is related with insufficient incomes of the people to assure the energy they need for their homes. So we can say that there are 3 main reasons to have this problem called energy poverty. First 2 reasons are the low incomes of people and the high energy prices. You can see on the charts the rising, constantly rising, growing prices of the electricity, as well the constantly growing share of the energy bills in the household budgets, according to Eurostat. The third reason are the inefficient buildings in which many people live and the big consumption of energy needed for these buildings. According to a publication by Building Performance Institute of Europe, as you can see on the graph, the majority of the building stock in Europe is in energy class D or worse, and just a small percentage is in class A. And of course, the poorest people live in the worst building where more energy is needed. There are many consequences that to live in a bad building. Maybe the most important is that it will cause serious problems to the health of the people living in the buildings, but not only living in the buildings, but also to the people in the towns due to the air pollution related to the high consumption of energy produced by burning of fossil fuels. And because Bulgaria is a country with bad residential building stock, as well, it is the poorest country in the EU with the lowest incomes of the population, we have decided that Bulgaria is a very good option to make our study on the energy poverty problem in more depth. As you can see on this chart, Bulgaria is at the bottom of the European Energy Poverty Index. So what are the conditions in Bulgaria? First of all, there's a huge potential for energy renovation of the building stock because it is in bad condition. There are big problems with air quality. According to all statistics, Bulgarian towns are among the most polluted in Europe. And this is mainly in the winter, and the inefficient heating of the buildings is one of the key reasons for that pollution. The poorest people in Bulgaria are heavily dependent on fuel subsidies, but not too many people are receiving these subsidies. So in our analysis from the last year, we have used data from energy audits of more than 2,000 multi-family residential buildings renovated in the National Program for Energy Efficiency in Multi-Family Buildings. And we determined the current energy performance of the non-renovated buildings. And based on that, we calculated the required amount for adequate heating. So the result you can see on the graph. The results show that actually, if the people spend the total amount necessary for adequate heating of their homes, the remaining available funds for the households will be below the poverty line in the country. So we can accept that all these people are in danger of energy poverty, and because probably they will not spend most of their money for adequate heating. And as you can see also on the chart, the first 5 deciles by the incomes of the population in Bulgaria are in this situation. Further on, we have calculated the specific average energy consumption required in the same buildings if renovated to energy class B and if deeply renovated to energy class A. On the basis on that, and also on the national statistic for the incomes and the expenditures of the population, we have determined the difference between the average monthly incomes and the average total monthly expenditures, assuming that the spending for adequate heating is included in the total expenditures. So you can see on the graph to the left that if a deep renovation is done in the building, the people in the third, fourth, and fifth decile already would be able to assure adequate heating to their homes, and even more, then they will be even in a position to make some savings in their households budgets. Unfortunately, the households in the first two deciles will still need energy subsidies because they're not only energy poor but very poor in general. So we have tried to define different groups of households who need different type of support for the renovation of their homes, starting from just appealing to the most wealthy people through loans, soft loans, mixed grants, and soft loans with different percentages of the grant component, and to grants combined with heating subsidies for the poorest one. Here we review a case when 80% of the renovation cost is covered by a grant from a national renovation program for the poorest households, those who receive heating subsidies, but the other 20% should be paid by the homeowner. Of course, the poor household cannot pay this money, and they also cannot take a loan. So in this case, we think that the heating subsidy could be partly revocated to cover this 20%. On the graph, we show an example for one household or one apartment in a building renovated to Class C, where about 40% of savings are achieved. This was the average case in our national renovation program. If the heating subsidy paid for the household is decreased by 40% as the energy consumption is decreased by 40%, the initial investment by the social fund will be repaid in about 12 years, and this is even if we're not taking into account in the calculation the rising energy prices. So finally, I would like to present part of the important policy recommendation we propose to the authorities in this research. First of all, to prepare a long-term vision for deep energy renovation of the entire building stock with clear goals regarding social, economic, and environmental impacts. Later, the national long-term renovation strategy was presented as a draft, and the energy poverty is mentioned as a problem, but it is not analyzed and the measures are not proposed. So normally this is one of the critics by the European Commission to our long-term strategy. It is also important to establish a sustainable financing schemes ensuring the investments in deep renovation, and to adopt high criteria for the level of efficiency and to green criteria for sustainable and healthy materials, for indoor air quality, and more. Actually, a step in that direction is announced in our long-term renovation strategy, where the announced expected energy savings show that the level of ambition is much higher compared to the previous attempts, and especially for the residential buildings. And it is also stated that a special national decarbonization fund will be created, and the renovation of residential buildings will be among the priorities. It is also necessary to develop a national methodology to determine the degree of vulnerability of households, different household groups, and based on that to propose different support to different groups in order to allow the inclusion of all social groups in the renovation. In that respect, it is necessary to review the existing heating subsidy schemes for low-income groups and to integrate them into the building renovation schemes. Also to combine different financing schemes for the accumulation of higher financial resources. For example, the green mortgages could be used for the buildings where the required green criteria are achieved. I'm finished with that. Thank you for your attention. We continue to study the topic, and you're welcome to contact us. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Kamen, for your interesting presentation. Now it's time for Milenka. Milenka will talk about the activities and tools created to deliver the partnership for better quality green home, such as the municipal platform and guide. So, Milenka, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Aris. Hello, everyone. So my name is Milenka, and I'm a project officer at the organization People in Need. I'm having a lot of experience in working with vulnerable groups, municipalities, and local NGOs. And that is something that People in Need brings as an additional value to Smarter project. Today, as Aris said, I'm going to talk about how we started conversation about importance of Green Homes program for low-income families in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So households with the characteristics of energy poverty are present in all countries participating in Smarter. But due to the fact that it rates amongst 10 most air polluted countries in the world, and because of its complicated governmental structure, we decided to start our approach from Bosnia and Herzegovina. It is generally difficult to get to an agreement with governments on creation of subsidy schemes for low-income families, even in countries that have much simpler governmental structure. So imagine now how difficult it is in Bosnia and Herzegovina, where there are 3 country presidents, national ministries, ministries on 2 entity levels, district ministries, and 10 cantons with their own ministries. So having in mind this situation, we decided to start our approach from the lowest governmental levels, which are municipalities. Due to the situation with COVID-19 and not being able to have frequent visits at the municipalities, but at the same time wanting to establish and maintain constant communication with interested municipalities and provide them something sustainable that they can continue to work on after the end of the Smarter project. We decided to create an online interactive Smarter municipal platform. Our aim through Smarter is to empower municipalities and local NGOs as the key stakeholders in fight against energy poverty in the designing and building of highly energy efficient and healthy dwellings. So Smarter Municipal Platform is available for municipal and NGO staff, and it offers them access to free educational materials, webinars, and information on events and funding opportunities, networking with other municipalities and organizations, individualized trainings and consultancies, and promotion of municipal and NGO projects. Smarter Municipal Platform was established in May 2020, and currently it has 43 active members. We have organized 1 Green Homes webinar on the platform and offered its members 3 green building professional training courses, which are delivered by Romanian Green Building Council. Also, we have promoted 4 municipal projects and several NGO projects through the platform. Nowadays, we are working together with the colleagues from Enova on creation of Municipal Guidebook, which will contain all relevant information that municipalities should have if they are going to implement green homes project. The guidebook will offer information like why are the municipalities the core stakeholder for hybrid financing? Then some general information about Green Homes program, information about the type of potential projects like public and private residential buildings, both new constructions and renovations. Then it will contain some ideas on how to blend public and private finance in residential projects. Also, some available financial sources in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and also it will have some good practice examples. On a national level, Bosnia and Herzegovina has set energy efficiency targets, and every year they are following energy consumption decrease through annual progress reports. To reach the national targets, municipalities are required to implement certain measures addressing this problem. What usually happens is that municipalities in Bosnia and Herzegovina either do not have enough financial resources to implement measures, or their staff, although being really keen to work on this problem, sometimes does not have capacities and cannot follow the latest trends in this field. So after having discussions with a few first municipalities on this topic and hearing their side of the story, we decided that the best way for approaching municipalities and introducing a Green Homes program would be an individual approach. So that means that we started from the municipalities where we already had good relationships, and we were having telephone meetings, we were exchanging emails, introducing the benefits they can have from Smarter through newsletters and leaflet, and in this way we were getting their interest in trust in what we are doing. Finally, more than 50 municipalities were contacted, and 10 of them decided to join our Smarter platform, and more than 20 of them participated in our first Green Homes webinar. Their feedback on what we are doing so far is that they find it extremely useful for the projects in their communities, and they are especially highlighting the importance of the toolkits that have been prepared through Smart and shared with them, as well as the information about the suppliers of the materials, and of course information about funding opportunities in Bosnia. So while we were communicating with municipalities, we were also searching for pilot projects which are providing housing for low-income families. In order to be eligible for Smarta and receive free or discounted green certification, as well as free consultancies, those pilot projects should be residential buildings, new constructions or reconstructions, in the stage of planning or in the implementation stage, public or private property, for sure aim to help low-income families, and if possible promote a combination of public and private funding. Since Green Homes is a completely new program and something that most of the municipalities in Bosnia and Herzegovina haven't heard of before, with some interested municipalities, we had numerous meetings with the municipal staff from different departments, and although with some of the municipalities we were almost ready to sign MOUs, they would eventually pull back, stating that either to the situation with COVID-19, their funds have been reallocated to some other priorities, or they found green criteria too demanding, or in some municipalities our relationships were not yet that firm enough. Also, we had some municipalities that were proposing pilot projects related to the public buildings, since in both entities in Bosnia and Herzegovina there are environment protection funds that are giving opportunities to the municipalities for implementation of the projects related to public buildings. Finally, we managed to sign two MOUs with two municipalities, which are Municipality Maglaj and Municipality Sokolac. And both of their projects are focused on provision of housing for internally displaced persons. Those buildings are in the implementation phase, and currently our smarter partners from Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is Enova and Green Council, are reviewing the project documentation. But from what they have received so far, although those buildings have some energy efficiency measures implemented, they are not fulfilling green criteria, and unfortunately currently nothing much can be done in order to make them eligible for green certification. But since those two municipalities are really interested in learning more about Green Homes program, we decided to offer their staff green home certification trainings and workshops in order to strengthen their capacities for the future project. And then the first workshop for those two municipalities, and maybe a few more interested, will be held in December this year. Something on what we are going to focus in the following period are awareness raising activities. For that purpose, we have just created energy poverty website under our Smarter website, and there you can find most of those information we are presenting you here today. In chat here now, you have a link to access our website, and if some of you is interested in participation in green building professional training courses, which I already mentioned are delivered by Romanian Green Building Council. You can find more about eligibility criteria on our page, and the link to application form, you can find the link in the chat. Also now, I would like to use this opportunity to invite you all to support our campaign and sign our call for green homes for all. Through this campaign, we are trying to raise awareness about green housing as an answer to energy poverty. We are hoping that with the support of NGOs, municipalities, any interested individuals, with your support, that we will be able to increase cooperation and open dialogue between governments, NGOs, and private sector, which will lead to long-term commitment on ambitions and policies, and improved access to financing. Our goal is to show governments in all smarter participating countries that representatives of public private sector and civil society are ready to engage in dialogue about hybrid funding opportunities, and in this way making green housing available to all groups of people. So please join us. Let's build green together. In chat, you will find a link to access and sign our message. Thank you all for listening. If you have any questions, I will be happy to discuss them during the Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Milenka, for your interesting presentation. Now I would like to give the floor to Mrizet. Mrizet's presentation will focus on Western Balkans and energy poverty development projects suitable for co-funding, including financial products suitable for energy poverty projects.
Dear guests, thank you for joining us on this webinar. My name is Mirzet Mujagic, and I will be presenting today the topic of Balkan banks and investments into energy poverty projects. I'm here on behalf of the company called Enova, which is a Smarter Partner project implementation. Today, as we all know, banks are one of the most important factors in implementing any kind of the projects. Energy poverty projects are also fitting into this category. So we have to consider financing institutions and banks, especially when talking about implementation of energy poverty projects. In most markets, as we can see here in Balkans, we have present the many international and national banks. Bank market is usually market oriented, and meaning that the banks offer and support which they provide for the energy poverty projects is in type of a loan, which sometimes is a benefit, while sometimes it can be a difficult obstacle for the difficulties in fulfilling all banks' criteria in order to get financing. This is the situation we have in Balkans also. Some of the Balkan countries are in EU, which makes easier for them to obtain some funds and offer the financing to their clients, while other countries are in non-EU membership status, so they're mostly relying on the market conditions and their willingness to dedicate their own funds from their own portfolio for the green financing and energy poverty projects. After the analysis and after searching for interesting and available financing options, I definitely can conclude that currently available bank support and financing options isn't sufficient to fulfill all requirements. Thus, it means that there is a room for improvement, definitely. When it comes to the EU member countries, the situation is similar in most of the Balkan European countries that are in EU members. So their offer is quite versatile, but still I have taken two representative examples actually of two countries from EU being two member states, and their offer of loans which are commonly related to the energy efficiency projects and projects that are related to the improvements in health and improving living standard of their citizens. So as you can see on this slide, Croatia, being one of the newer members of European Union, has introduced some credit lines and funding options for the citizens from the EU funds, which is the good thing and which is noticeable in other countries of the Balkans also. Most of the banks from the European Union are using available EU funds to create accessible and affordable credit lines related to the energy efficiency. So this way, Croatian Bank for Reconstruction and Development has raised the funds from the EU actually to finance the projects within the energy efficiency scope. Next banks which we can see in this table are like local Zagrebačka banka, which also got support from the European Investment Bank in order to implement and offer their funds to the citizens. As we can see, again, this credit line is intended for the energy efficiency and projects which contribute to the increasing of living standards with the implementation of EU EE measures, energy efficiency measures. Erste Bank, as part of a broader international banking group, offers very interesting eco mortgage, which is a product used for financing the construction, reconstruction, and purchasing energy efficient units and facilities. Again, something which is interesting and which can be compared between Croatia and Slovenia is that Erste Bank and Sparkasse Bank have quite similar green mortgage programs, and if we consider analyzing the international organizations' financing options, we can see that many of these international banking groups are offering similar products in different countries where they are present. For example, Raiffeisen will be same case with their flexi green financing, and which we discuss on next slide. Privredna Banka Zagreb is offering some green product called Energo loans, intended for the citizens to finance reconstruction of their buildings and improvements of energy efficiency of their facilities through implementation of measures. Again, Slovenia, as representative of EU member countries from the Balkans, has its own development bank, but yet have raised money from European Investment Bank to implement projects in Slovenia. So we can still see dependence and use of international funds in implementing bank and mortgage loans in European countries. When it comes to the non-EU members, even though there are many more countries in the Balkans, I would say that Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Serbia represent a quite good picture of other non-EU member states and the bank and loans offer on the market. We can see here that the financing, international financial organization and development organizations are making a significant portion of financing sources when it comes to the green financing and energy efficiency, energy poverty projects. This is the reason why many international organizations primarily are implementing partners of these financing institutions, and they're offering their energy efficiency products same in Bosnia and Serbia. As we can see, European Union with the support of EBRD is financing citizens of Bosnia and Serbia in implementing their projects. Again, Raiffeisen Bank, as I've mentioned, has a quite similar offer supported by the KfW German bank in Bosnia and Serbia. As we can see, green loan in Bosnia and Herzegovina is quite similar, even with the terms and like the loan conditions in Serbia and in Bosnia. Again, some domestic banks are offering their products. For example, Bosnia Bank International, which has a small credit line actually for the purchase and reconstruction of energy efficient facilities. For the end, I would like just shortly to conclude that banks, we have to keep in mind that support that banks offer is always in terms of the loan, so which can be a plus sometimes, definitely, but at the same time, if we are talking about energy parity and people sometimes are not able to raise funds through the loan taking, it's sometimes difficult to fulfill our banking criteria. So bank support actually in dealing energy parity problems currently isn't sufficient, isn't enough in the Balkans, so it should be improved. Bank offers in EU member countries is dependent on EU funds, so banks are rather using available EU funds than spending their own money from their own portfolio on these type of products. Then again, in non-EU member countries, we have seen that offer them is more based on the market conditions, and in this case, banks are using also the support from European, mostly development agencies and European Union to create green products. Sometimes when we have financial institutions supporting these projects and these financing programs, people do get extra technical support, have grant component in the financing and many other options, which is plus definitely for them, which they usually do not get if bank finances the project from their own funds. It is quite interesting to see that international banking organizations tend to have a similar offer in different countries where they are present in the Balkans. Okay, that's it from me today. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me and I'll get the answers. Thank you so much.
Now, I would like to give the floor to Sanela. Sanela will bring her expertise in sustainable architecture and explain why energy poverty projects should invest in green certification and how Smarter has an accessible certification pathway for your projects. Here, I would like to mention that due to increased workload, Sanela unfortunately was not being able to join us live, but she managed to send us the presentation. And with that, I would like to mention that it's a pre-recorded presentation. So without further ado, here's the next speaker.
Hello, everybody. My name is Anula Klaric. I'm from Bosnia and Herzegovina, from Green Building Council in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I'm an architect professor at International Birch University. And today I will talk more about energy poverty projects and how the green certification is actually important in those projects as well. Green Building Council in Bosnia and Herzegovina exists since 2010, and the most important is that we have a huge number of the partners from all over the world, but the most important is that actually they are coming from different sectors, like the university and research sectors, the donors community, but also in industry and businesses. And all of them together actually helping us to be stronger, especially if we're talking about something very innovative and if we're talking about something that is important and very large to understand. For the current practices, it's really something where it's holistic approach. We need to have a huge number of the different experts working together. So that's the reason why it's important to have a huge number of the partners talking in the same language, talking together. This partnership is very important, and that's the reason why we actually doing very well in Bosnia and Herzegovina, because since 2010 we are developing this partnership with many partners. We already have joint projects together. We are bringing and working on building this network to be very strong, to be interdisciplinary, and to have a common interest. That's the reason why in this Smart Horizon 2020 Smarter project, since the beginning, we had many meetings with the municipality representatives, including our partners from People in Need and Enova, because all those three organizations are in very strong relationship with the municipalities in other projects. That's the reason why this trust and this partnership that we already built, we are now using to present our joint work on this green certification process, where we actually building the trust much more, and talking about social housing and public projects that are going to be implemented and invested in municipalities, and how we could actually improve those projects in the future. We already signed a memorandum of cooperation with Magla and Sokoles municipalities, but many municipalities are in pipeline. We are talking with them, and they show huge interest to continue with us. Why this is very important? Because municipalities are the ones who are investing in public buildings, but also in social housing. For those people, it's very important to also have quality in their life, to not have just poor buildings, even sometimes with building 6 syndromes made from very cheap materials, because they made for some people in social needs. It's very important to actually show that by investing in quality buildings for this category of the people, it's something that municipality shows how much they care about their citizens. We also have situation, and we had a huge situation here with the flood and erosions in 2014, where actually a lot of people lost their houses, and then we need to react very fast. Why not the municipality to react with very good green certificated buildings to actually move and to support and to offer those people who really lost a lot to also have a good quality of their life soon by actually take care of the municipalities. We also have a public building for vulnerable population of the people, like the children, hospitals. So it's very important to talk with the municipalities when they're investing in the schools, kindergartens, hospitals. It's very important to have a green certification and to achieve this quality of the buildings as well. And of course, temporary facilities, because they are temporary, it's very important to think how we're going to use those materials later, to recycle, to reuse, life cycle assessment to make. That actually we will be sure once when we don't need those facilities, we will actually be in line with the circular economy. Why it's important? Because all these public buildings and investments will be ensured that we have a better quality of life for all those people. We will have less and cheaper maintenance and use of this building, because we will achieve some of the nearly zero energy building standards. That buildings will be healthier, and we will have less cost for the medical care. Those people will be much more healthier, but also happier, and they will be able to also return their services to the municipality. It's about local economy support, because with those projects we are supporting local products, we are supporting natural materials that are produced locally, we are supporting other activities by local and less transport cost and pollutions. It's all about better environment, and this also could help entrepreneurship in those municipalities or in the country, because with these projects and green certification, we are also motivating young people to find innovative ways to help us to have products that will improve green certification in the future. So we need to promote this. because the Green City Awards is something that also we need to promote here with the municipalities and the cities. This is about Green City action plans that most of the cities and the municipalities needs to build and make on in the future. It's about Green Deal for Western Balkans, where all these municipalities and our country and other countries in the region actually do have opportunities to apply with the green certification projects on this in line with the Green Deal. It's about competition between the municipalities that will help also those government who understand for the future elections, because people will recognize that they really care. It's about local circular economy, social and health care, and responsibilities. All this is very important if we're talking about health, because people really do care about health. We in Bosnia and Herzegovina do have a lot of problem with the air pollution. So with all these projects and the activities, we will show that these municipalities and the government of the municipalities really do care about earth and citizen health, cities, healthier building, innovations, and common value. And all of this, it's actually about trust, because this is the new capital for the 21st century. We really need to bring back the trust in the building sector, in the common interest, in the transparency, and we need to actually have a joint work to communicate about this in the future. It's for sure for all of the partners in Bosnia and Herzegovina that the work with the municipalities will help us a lot to promote and to educate people to understand what is the better for the future in the building sector. If you have any question, I will be on your disposal. I would like to thank you for the opportunities for me to talk with you today. Thank you a lot.
Now we'll go to the Q&A session. We receive many questions. I would like to start with the first question with Eva. Eva, the question is as follows. What is the uptake from housing associations so far, and what is the strategy moving forward?
So you mean the housing association in Bosnia and Herzegovina?
I suppose yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because there is where we are most active. Well, actually, we've already established some contacts. I guess Bosnian case is a little bit more peculiar. Maybe Milenka can talk a bit more about that. The structure. The structures are a bit more different, and so the main issue is that these are much more diverse and less centralized than in other countries. So it's a bit harder. It's not only about reaching one or two representatives or representative organizations. So we've been in contact with some of them. But the biggest issue is actually to spread the news enough to really reach every corner and every actor. Milenka, I don't know where you have any insights about this issue. Yeah, unfortunately, this is mainly Sanla's field, so we can also follow up a little bit later after consulting with her. But yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you very much, Eva. The next question is for you, Kamen. And the question goes as, what has been the reception from the relevant authority of the policy recommendations?
Thank you, Aris. I tried to reflect that in my last slide. Actually, I told you that the energy poverty problem somehow was mentioned, but it seems that it is still not realized in details, and it is not in the focus of the policy documents. But this should be changed, because our long-term renovation strategy were reviewed, and there were many critics by the European Commission, and one of the critics was exactly for the energy poverty part. If we speak about the establishment of financing schemes for deep renovation, I think that this specialized national decarbonization fund, which is announced to be, which is stated at least to be created, could be a good solution, but of course we need to know more details about it, which are still not clear.
Thank you, Carmen, for your response. The next question is for Milenka. So, Milenka, the question is, can you say something about your experience on promoting the 4 municipalities? How did you engage with them, and what were they interested in most?
Yes, thank you for the question. Well, actually, we had started something like a campaign asking for municipalities what they see as their biggest success regarding energy efficiency projects in their municipalities. So they were more than happy, at least those, we contacted those ones that we already have as members on our Smarter Municipal platform. So they were sending us information about the project, some pictures which we were sharing on the platform and on our social media. And actually, this was really a successful campaign, both for Smarter and for the municipality, since this promotion had a huge reach in the communities and in generally in Bosnia.
If I may step in, like what was interesting for me was that then many municipalities been sharing the content they previously shared with us. So they shared our social media on their own websites and made a small story around it. So seeing that this recognition from third party was really important for them, and it was important for them to show their constituency that they've started these new relationships and improving their network.
Thank you both for your response. The next question is for you, Eva, and the question is, how do you see your success with the governments?
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely, it's a start of the communication with private sector, and in the way that the governments will get a little bit more understanding that when it comes to energy poverty projects, they don't really have to, be the only ones pushing for the change and having a special line financing of like 100% or 90% financing of the projects from the public funds. So it's important to show them that the private sector is interested in financing the social housing projects, and it could be financially interesting for them. Maybe I can give an example. In Belgium, where I'm currently based in, Velux and also a couple more green solution providers provided Brussels municipality with plans how to renovate one of their social houses. It was a old house from 1920s. So they packed it full with technologies. It served as a showroom for all these technologies for 1 year. So it was very beneficial for these private companies to show their work in this house. Of course, then the house then it was donated to the municipality. But what was the most interesting about it is that the municipality owned maybe 20 of the same style houses. So it was like one architectural solution that's the same for all these houses. So once they've got these plans for this deep renovation, they could use the same renovation in all of these houses. And of course, this really decreased the costs. So it was both very important social housing project. The municipality got a lot of stuff for free in a way, yet it was still very interesting project financially for those private companies which invested. So I guess this is really the key, not to divide bankable and social housing projects into two categories, because there could be quite an overlap if you think about concrete pilot projects.
Thank you, Eva, for your response. The next question is, I think, for you, Milenka, and the question is it only municipalities that should sign the campaign sheet?
That should sign campaign, I think, yeah. I heard well. So no, we are asking municipalities, NGOs, any interested individuals, whoever is interested in these topics to sign our campaign, because we will need as many signatures possible in order to approach then to the governments in all smarter participating countries, stating that we have the interest of the civil society and municipalities in working on this topic, making green housing available to all groups of people. So yes, it is for everyone.
And Milenka, now that you're online, I have another question for you. Do you have any of the mentioned activities in other smarter countries?
Yes, actually, almost the same activities are happening in all other smarter participating countries. Our partners from all smarter countries have identified stakeholders. And in some countries like Poland and Georgia, some of the stakeholders have proposed some pilot project opportunities, and we are currently working on those projects, also reviewing the documentation and having meetings. Also, green building professional training courses were offered to the stakeholders from all smarter countries. Also, the campaign is going on starting in all countries. The only difference is a smarter municipal platform, which is currently made only for Bosnia, because all the contents there are in local languages. But we are really open for if there's someone interested to start the same platform in some of the other municipalities. We are really open to help them and provide any support needed to start it in other countries.
Thank you for the detailed response to the question. Milenka, we're closing towards the end, and I remember when we were talking, you would like probably to make a call for action reminder.
Just one more thing, just to remind you once again, I'm glad that I had also this one question asking if it's only for the municipalities or NGOs. So I would like to ask you all once again to sign our call for making green homes for all. You have the link in the chat, so please sign and support us. Thank you.
Thank you, Milenka. So, ladies and gentlemen, finally, we come to the end of the webinar. I would like to say thanks to the panelists for the informative and interesting presentations, and to the audience for their active participations. We received many questions. Unfortunately, we don't have time to answer more. So we hope that the presentations will be beneficial for all stakeholders involved in energy efficiency. Thank you for your attention, and wish you a good day or night from Copenhagen.